Recording now. All right. And I will keep an eye on participants and everything, but I'm going to go ahead and just get started with introductions. But thank you all so much for joining this evening. I'm so excited to have such a great big group of you all here today. This is the 2025-2026 Virginia Dominion Energy Envirothon Kickoff. So very excited to officially kick off the next season of Envirothon. As I mentioned to some of you already, but for those of you who are just popping in, we are recording this meeting, and we will also share all of the materials that are shared throughout the meeting with you after the meeting is done. So if you have to pop out for any reason, or if you don't catch anything and you want to make sure you get it, don't worry, it will all be posted on our website and sent to you via email. A couple things of housekeeping just before we get started. Please keep yourself on mute as we go throughout the meeting, just to, make sure that we can get through everything. But please feel free to use the chat box to introduce yourself, ask questions, point out things that you notice, anything like that. And we'll be keeping an eye on that chat box and also answering any of those questions near the end of the meeting. So definitely feel free to chat in that chat box. And like I said, there will be time for questions at the end. Let's see. I want to thank all of our local soil and water conservation districts, our partners, our students, and our coaches for coming this evening. We've got a great big group. Right now we've got 59 people, so that's super exciting. And I know that it's going to get even bigger as we go along. So thank you all so much for taking the time out of your day to join and celebrate the start of a new Envirothon season. If you are brand new or considering participating for the first time this year, thank you so much for joining and coming out to learn more. I hope that you will take what you learned this evening and share it with your school or your organization. And to those of you who have participated before, welcome back. We're so glad that you've decided to keep participating in this wonderful program. And there's a lot of excitement in that. So with that being said, I completely forgot in that whole spiel to actually introduce myself. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. My name is Byron Minson. I am the Education and Outreach Coordinator with the Virginia Association of Soil and Water Conservation Districts. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. All right. So the association, the Virginia Association of Soil and Water Conservation Districts, is the organization that represents all 47 local districts from across the state. And if you don't know what I'm talking about when I say Soil and Water Conservation District, I will be referring to those a couple of times throughout the meeting, but they are essentially pieces of organizations that work on soil and water conservation, and that includes education, legislation, outreach, great programs that actually put conservation work on the ground, and the association helps represent them. And all of us together collaborate into making this program run. So your local soil and water conservation districts are the ones who run the program at the local level, all the way up to myself, and I run the state competition. So in terms of agenda today, we've got a packed schedule of really exciting items. We hope to wrap things up by around 5 o'clock, but of course we're recording, so if you need to pop off at any time, please feel free and it will be sent out later. We have a great schedule for you all today. I want to start with a big thank you to Dominion Energy, who is our flagship sponsor of the Envirothon program and is here to help us kick off the Envirothon program for 2025 and 2026. And then after we hear from Dominion, we will have a brief program overview, review of the resources, some of those questions that you may have asked when registering for the Zoom, and then some coaching tips and tricks from a coach, and then finally the reveal of the oral presentation scenario. So again, we've got a great schedule ahead of us, and we will get right into it. So I want to introduce Missy Neff with Dominion Energy. She is the environmental director with Dominion Energy and is going to share remarks on behalf of Dominion Energy and about their role in supporting Envirothon. Missy, thank you so much for joining us this evening. We're so excited to continue this partnership with Dominion, and I will go ahead and pass it to you.
Super. Thank you, Byron. Just confirming that everybody can hear me. If you can, like, give a thumbs up. Awesome. I'm thrilled to be here today to kick off another year of Envirothon, and wanted to thank you all for your commitment to both environmental stewardship and to learning, because that's something that we value is lifelong learning. I'd like to set the stage for how I view those of you participating in Envirothon. I don't just see students preparing for a competition. I see environmental scientists, engineers, policymakers, and conservation leaders who will tackle the most pressing challenges of our generation. And that's why programs like this one matter so much. The environmental challenges that we face today, from climate change to habitat loss, from water quality to sustainable resource management, these aren't problems that can be solved in isolation or by any single discipline. They require exactly what Envirothon teaches you, and that's collaboration, critical thinking, and the ability to integrate that knowledge across issue areas. What makes Envirothon special is not that it's just about memorizing facts. It's about getting your hands dirty, literally and figuratively. You'll work as teams in real ecosystems, analyzing real problems, and developing practical solutions. And it's that kind of experience that you can't get from a textbook alone. It's the kind of experience that prepares you for real world environmental work. At Dominion, we're in the business of powering lives and communities, and we take our environmental responsibilities seriously. As we work to provide reliable, affordable, and increasingly clean energy, we need people who understand the complex relationships between energy production, environmental stewardship, and community needs. And that's why we're proud to be sponsors of Envirothon. The program aligns perfectly with our commitment to environmental sustainability and our belief that the next generation holds the key to innovative solutions. You are learning to think systematically about the environment, to see how watersheds connect to wildlife populations, how soil health impacts entire ecosystems, and how human activities ripple through our natural systems. That's the kind of thinking that we need in the energy sector and beyond. Something that I wish that I'd known when I was your age, that is that the environmental field is incredibly diverse and full of opportunities. We need foresters and hydrologists, but we also need data analysts who can model climate change impacts. We need engineers who can design sustainable infrastructure. But we also need communicators who can translate the tough science piece for our communities and for legislators. We need project managers who can bring diverse stakeholders together as we work to tackle important projects. Many of you who compete in Envirothon will go on to careers that you have not even imagined yet. The skills you're building right now are universal: scientific literacy, teamwork, problem solving under pressure, the ability to communicate complex ideas clearly. Those are the competencies that employers like Dominion Energy actively seek. I can tell you from experience that we're always looking for professionals who can bridge different areas of expertise, work collaboratively, and have genuine passion for environmental stewardship. The students who excel in programs like Envirothon, they often become the colleagues I'm most excited to work with, because you've already proven you can tackle complex, multifaceted challenges. So here's my challenge to you as you begin this year's Envirothon journey. Push yourselves. Ask hard questions. Don't be satisfied with easy answers. Challenge each other to think bigger and deeper. The problems you're studying are the same issues we're grappling with at a utility scale. And remember this: environmental stewardship isn't someone else's job. It's all of our job. Whether you go on to become an environmental professional or pursue any other career, the knowledge and perspective that you're going to gain through this program will make you a more informed citizen and a better steward of our shared resources. So thank you for your dedication to learning and to the environment. On behalf of Dominion Energy, we're proud to support you. We're excited to see what you accomplish this year, and we look forward to potentially working alongside some of you in the future. I'll turn it back over to you, Byron.
Thank you so much, Missy. That was really, I think, exemplifying the impact of Envirothon and why we love this partnership with Dominion so much is because Envirothon isn't something where you just do it in high school and then you forget about it. Envirothon is something that gives you the skills that are necessary for excelling in fields like energy and like any of the other things that Missy mentioned. So thank you so much. We're so excited to continue this partnership and continue working and collaborating with you all at Dominion. And with that, I want to get into what Dominion actually is, which, you know, we've referred to about a little bit, but I want to really dive into what it is for those of you who might not know as much about the program. So the base description of Envirothon is that it is a hands-on natural resources competition for high school aged students. And there's a lot more to it than that, but that's simplistically what it is. Students work collaboratively in a team and compete and test their knowledge on natural resources and the environment. So it's unique because unlike taking tests like you would in school, it's completely collaborative. It's team building. You're taking these tests together. You're bringing all of your own expertises to the table. What that means is that you have to have 5 students from your school or other organization in order to participate. But then if you have over 5 students, you can also have alternate students. You could do it as a part of a club. There are a lot of different things you can do within that kind of 5-student rule. But the basic rule is if you've got 5 students, you can have a team. At the local level, you can maybe even have enough to make 2 teams. And if you have multiple teams, then they could compete at the local level to see who progresses. And then the only other rule for an Envirothon team is that you have to have at least one adult coach or team advisor who can accompany you and train you and prepare you for competitions. And this is a really cool role because we've had coaches who have been doing it for decades. We've had coaches who used to be Envirothon students and then went on to become coaches. So it really speaks to the long-lasting impact of Envirothon with our fantastic coaches. So again, you got 2 requirements, 5 students and 1 adult. Then you've got an Envirothon team. The competition structure itself is written test, which I will get into what each of those are, as well as an oral presentation. And the oral presentation is a really important component of Envirothon and one that I think is maybe the most important piece of Envirothon simply because it's so unique. You will apply your knowledge from all of the different subjects and pieces of information you're learning through the entire program, and then put those pieces of knowledge and your problem solving and your team skills together for an oral presentation problem where you respond to a real life environmental problem. Like Missy stated earlier, these are not made up problems in the world. We are asking you to look at the same types of problems that the professionals in the environmental world are also looking at. So it's a really great look into what professionals are looking at, if that's something you could be interested in for your future, for your career, but also solving something that could genuinely be very impactful. We will unveil what this year's oral presentation scenario is, which is related to the current topic at the end of this meeting. But it changes absolutely every year, and you get to come up with a new presentation each year. It's a great opportunity to practice those public speaking skills and, like I said, work together as a team to solve those real world problems, which can be carried into whatever you choose to do in your future, whether that's going into an environmental world or maybe something completely different. Those presentation skills and teamwork skills are going to carry you no matter where you go. So then you've got your 4 core station topics, which I mentioned, and these are the things that you would be taking those written tests on collaboratively. The 4 core station topics that do not change throughout the years are soils, aquatics, forestry, and wildlife. And each of these has a set of learning objectives with them so that you know exactly what you need to study. I will showcase those resources a little bit later, but just keep that in mind that there are learning objectives for each of these topics and that they are available for you to find. And then the fifth topic that you are tested on is that special topic. And this one changes every year and is chosen by the National Conservation Foundation, which is the international collection for Envirothon. And this year, the special topic is non-point source pollution. It begins at home. So we'll talk a bit more about what that means and again, how that relates to the oral presentation at the end. But for each and every one of these tests, so you take 5 different tests: soils, aquatics, forestry, wildlife, and then you take a test for your special topic. And each of those are written by content experts, which makes it a really great opportunity for students to engage with natural resource professionals. And these professionals can range kind of from all over. We frequently use resource professionals from partner agencies like the Department of Forestry, the Department of Wildlife Resources, the Department of Conservation and Recreation, etc. So these are real working natural resource professionals that write these tests. And they are printed paper tests that you take together and you can talk and communicate amongst your team to fill out the questions, which are usually a mix of multiple choice, true, false, matching, short answer. Tests are basically meant to be challenging, but still fun. And they test your application of knowledge in real life scenarios, field skills, identification of species, etc. So while there's the written component of the test, there's also great field testing sections as well, which you can kind of see in each of these pictures what that might look like for each of the given topics. So then what does the formatting of Envirothon look like? There are 3 to 4 different sections of Envirothon. The first one is your local or your area competition. At the local competition, this is not every single team will have to do a local competition. It depends on which soil and water conservation district you're located in and how many teams are in that district as well. But typically it's a 1-day event, usually during the week. And might be a half day or a full day of competition, again, depending on the number of teams. And it's very similar to an area competition in its structure. To find out if you do need to participate in a local competition, you should check with your local soil and water conservation district, and they'll be able to tell you all of the details about if there's going to be one, and if there is, what date, what location, all of that good stuff. There will also be an area competition. There are 6 areas across Virginia, and every single area of Virginia will host 1 training event and 1 competition. So you have the opportunity for both of those in your area. The trainings kind of take place during different times of the year. So again, reach out to your local soil and water conservation district because they will have the most up-to-date and current information about any training events or competition events. I will say for the areas, we have begun posting those dates that have been confirmed, dates and locations on our website, which I'll show off in a little bit. So if you are wondering if your area has already set a date and location, you can check that, and they will be added as they are confirmed. But again, checking with your local soil and water conservation district is still going to be your best bet to get any details you might need. The area is also a 1-day event, usually during the weekday, and half day to full day kind of timeline. And those area trainings help you prepare for the area competitions. And the trainings give you a chance to learn about the content subjects directly from the resource professionals, practice those hands-on skills, and get a chance to have fun outside. So I highly encourage absolutely every team to attend their area training. as well as, again, reaching out to their local district to see what information they can get about either a local training, or I mean, a local competition or an area competition. So then the way that you move from the area level to the state level is that the top 3 winners at each of the area competitions progress to the state. So there's a maximum of 18 total teams from across the state that all come to compete in a 2-day event where it's a Sunday and a Monday, so you stay overnight, and it occurs in mid-May every year. And you get to go to a university, because every year we rotate it to a different university across the state. And you get to spend the night in a dorm, maybe eat at the food hall, kind of experience a bit of what college life may be like, as well as doing the Envirothon competition. So on Sunday, you'll have those oral presentations, and on Monday, you'll have station testing. And then the one winner from the state competition gets to move on to the international competition and represent Virginia. This is a week-long competition, and it always happens in July. And you have the chance to win scholarships and also just go someplace new and have that travel paid for. So that's a very exciting competition. They do a lot of great things there. This year will be in Starkville, Mississippi. So, get excited for that. That is where the international will be this year. So then what the timeline for this year will look like, having said all that, is, of course, we're in fall 2025 now. That's when the kickoff happens. It's when our official program year starts. It's when we suggest that you start forming those teams and connecting with those local districts to get all of the information you may need. And then by your winter, early spring timeframe, this is when most of your area trainings will be happening, as well as statewide virtual trainings, which I will get into what statewide virtual trainings are going to be offered, but just know that that will be kind of in this timeframe. And then a lot of times your local competitions may be in this timeframe at all, if those are applicable to you. And then in March and April of 2026, that is when the area competitions will be held. Most of them are typically in April. I don't think we have any planned in March so far this year, so think April. And again, 6 area competitions across the state. Check both our website and with your local district for information about those. And then May 17th and 18th will be the dates for the state competition. So go ahead and put that on your calendar, put the local competition on your calendar, put the area competition on your calendar, put them all on your calendar. And the state competition, while we have not finalized the contract yet, we are currently working through a contract with Eastern Mennonite University, which is in Harrisonburg. So that is most likely where we will be having our state competition, but I can guarantee that it will be May 17th and 18th. And then finally, the international competition is going to be July 19th through 25th. And as I mentioned, it will be in Starkville, Mississippi. So now I want to talk about how you can actually prepare for the competition and what resources are out there. So if you go to our website, which I will do right now, and you go to this K-12 banner, Envirothon, and then you go to Envirothon study resources. That is going to be a huge list of links and documents and all kinds of things. And I'm not going to lie, it can look a little overwhelming. So I'm going to point out the most important things and what especially you should focus on if you are a new team just getting started. So the first thing that you want to look at is each of the different topics have their own block that has those resources. So you want to go to the top of that block and click on this link here, and that's going to bring you to your learning objectives. So I'm clicking on the one for the current issue right now and pulling those up. Let's see. Can I switch my screen here? Yes, here we go. Okay, so it pulls you up to a learning objective Word doc where it just has each of the key topics, the learning objectives associated with that, basically tells you everything that you need to know. But how do you actually go about knowing that? So going back to the website, for the special topic, this link right here in this line, this line will take you to a huge PDF document that the international competition puts together with a ton of resources. It's taking forever to load because it's 203 pages. So it's very big. So again, very overwhelming, a lot. What you should focus on are those key topics and the learning objectives within them. This is just a lot of information. But for the core topics, so the ones that do not change, we have study guides and practice tests and things like that for each of those. So let's pull up the aquatic study guide just as an example. So if you go to the aquatic study guide, it gives you those kind of key points again. But then if you scroll down a little more, it actually gives you more information and gives you some images, it gives you definitions, things like that. So when it comes to studying for those core resources, I would really recommend exploring those study guides and then going back. If you go back up to the top here, there are practice questions for each of those core topics. That is essentially a Google form where you can practice, get kind of an idea of what tests may look like, and then you can get the answers. You'll be able to see the correct answers after submitting the test. So again, those are just some places to kind of start. And then once you feel like you've mastered those sections, then I would suggest looking at kind of the supplemental links for things. Another really great place to start is in our YouTube channel. We have lots of different training videos. So for example, wildlife training. If you scroll way down to the bottom, you can see the ones that we did last year, including one with Dominion Energy. So this is where all of our videos are housed. When we do more virtual trainings, they will go into this. This kickoff recording will go into this playlist. So anything you might want in terms of a video is going to be in that YouTube channel. So those are kind of the main places to look for students. For my coaches, we also have a newly updated coaches handbook. So, let's go back to the top. So this is going to be kind of your master doc for all of the coaching guidelines. And there's a lot of words in here, a lot of things, but I'll point out a couple things. We've got advice for like what maybe other teams have found successful in terms of forming a team. There's a schedule down here that you can use. So there's a lot of great tips and tricks in this document. But what I will also say is that this is a living document. So if you are a coach and there's either something that you feel like you need in order to be successful as a coach, or if there is something that you think was really helpful that you're willing to share, please let me know and I'm happy to add it to this handbook. It's only as good as the feedback I can get. So please, feel free to reach out to me if there are any ideas for it that could help other coaches from across the state. So those are a couple of the things in terms of resources. Oh, I completely forgot the oral presentation. So the oral presentation, while I will be talking about it in a bit, has officially been released at this point. So you can find the scenario download here in the oral presentation tab, as well as a provided resource list. So I will showcase that in a little bit, but just know that that's where you find the resources specific to the oral presentation. All right. And like I mentioned, we have lots of videos uploaded onto our YouTube. And then in terms of what's coming up with trainings, we will hold a special topic training, so about non-point source pollution, most likely in February time. And then we want to provide more virtual trainings, but we want to hear from you. So the first one that we know that we are definitely pursuing is a coach-specific training. When I asked you those questions at the registration for this Zoom, about if you had any questions about this program. We got so many questions that were, how do I coach a team? What are the best resources out there? What are the strategies? So we're going to make an entire training dedicated to that. So we haven't set a date yet, but look out for that, because we heard you loud and clear and definitely want to provide something for coaches specifically. Other than that, we don't have any set plans for the virtual training, so we want to hear from you. Some of the ideas we had were forestry tools of the trade, a Save Our Streams or Fish ID kind of training, or a wildlife lesson. But again, if there is something that you feel like you could really benefit from a virtual training, because keep in mind, it has to be virtual. So, you know, it can't be it can be about a hands-on skill, but it will not be physically hands-on. But if you have any of those ideas, feel free to put them in the chat. Feel free to email me after the fact, because we want to hear from you on what you all need. So just putting that kind of request out there. So as I mentioned, that FAQ, here were a couple of the questions that we got that I wanted to make sure I touched on. So how did we choose the special topic for this year? As I mentioned a little bit before, every year it is chosen not by us, but by the international host, so this year being Mississippi, and the National Conservation Foundation, NCF, who runs the international competition. Then once we receive that special topic, so the non-point source pollution, the Virginia Envirothon Steering Committee develops a Virginia specific oral presentation scenario. And I will say that for the oral presentation this year, we really wanted to highlight some of the work that soil and water conservation districts do. So that's kind of your hint as to how we came up with this year's scenario. The next question was, can only teachers and students within a public high school participate? What about homeschool? And absolutely, as I mentioned in the very beginning of this, there are no requirements or no rules against any sort of students participating. All you need is a group of 5 high school age students and you're good to go. They have to be from the same organization. So that can be a public high school, a private high school, a homeschool group, a 4-H or nature center, an FFA club, a church youth group, any type of group you want to make, you know, as long as they're within the same soil and water conservation district, then you're all good. You just need 5 high school age students. So absolutely, homeschools allowed, all those other groups we've had teams of before. It just happens that high school is, like public high school is the most common group we get. So what's the estimated time commitment for students? This one I don't have a strict answer for, because it really is dependent on the team. It's dependent on how many times a week can your coach meet? How many times a week can your students meet? Can they meet only once a month? Can they, you know, it's really dependent on your own schedules. But I can tell you, at least for the time commitment of a competition, if you go through every single level, so from a potential local level to all the way to the international, you would have 2 full days for a local competition and then an area competition sometime in the early spring, followed by a 2-day competition at the state level in mid-May, followed by a week-long commitment at the international level in July. So that's what you're looking at in terms of just the competition commitments. But of course, there's so much more than just the competition days. But like I said, it's really kind of a choose your own adventure. It's however you feel you can participate in this program. And then the next thing, like I mentioned, tips and tricks for coaching an Envirothon team. Another plug for that updated coach handbook and the training that will be coming in early 2026. But to also kind of tease that training, I did want to invite one of our coaches just to speak briefly here, so that you all could get a little bit of an idea of how an Envirothon coach trains their team. So Rebecca Elton with Jamestown High School has agreed to speak briefly. So Rebecca, if you're online.
I am, Byron. Thank you. I am in the car, in between driving children to different things, so I apologize if my internet connection is a little unstable. Hi, everyone. I'm Rebecca Elton from Jamestown High School, and Byron asked me to talk a little bit about the experience of being a coach. So a few tips and tricks that I have learned over my experience. So one thing I would say is definitely establish student leadership. Have a club president, have the person that is the team captain, because you as the coach can't always be on the students all the time for what they're supposed to do and what the commitment.
Seems like she might have frozen a
What's
little
going
bit.
on.
Oh,
So
there she
that's the
is.
first thing I'd say. Another tip is to oh another tip is to meet regularly. So the students these days are very, very busy. They have many different commitments. You're never going to be able to cater your meeting to all of them all the time. So as an Envirothon coach, pick a day a week, pick 2 days a week. If you're meeting during lunch, after school, um, and keep it consistent. And the kids that really care about it, they'll show up to the meetings. So just make sure that you always meet regularly and that they can count on that every Thursday is an Envirothon meeting or whatever day you choose. Another tip that I have is to have students do peer teaching. So the objectives that Byron was mentioning earlier that are in the in those documents that are posted on the website, assign different objectives, either per week or at different times, and have the students actually present to their peers the answers to those objectives. That's a way to get them practicing for the presentation and just takes a little bit of load off you as a coach, to like always feel like you need to be teaching them, because a lot of the times they can do the research themselves and peer teach. Providing food is always helpful. They love food. So we, the coaches and the students on our team, we take turns kind of signing up for a week each and providing snacks. After school, they can get pretty hungry, so that's always a draw. I'd say another important thing is to build community. So it's important to do things outside of just the club. Going to trainings together is a great bonding experience. Going out and having dinner, having the kids get together for social activities outside of the team, just to build that community and make them feel that it's not just all about like learning the objectives. Because if they on year after year. And then the other thing I'd say is use your resources. Byron was mentioning the soil and water conservation districts, your local soil and water conservation districts. If you get in touch with your representative there, they can put you in touch with experts in each of the different fields. Have them come and do a guest speaker. They would love to have you come visit them for a training. So just use those resources that your soil water conservation districts give to you. So that's what I had. So yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Rebecca. Rebecca's been coaching a team for many years now, so she's picked up some really great tips over the years. So we really appreciate you sharing those. And again, we're going to do a whole coach training, because this could be, I mean, truly, this could be a whole day event, just of coach tips and tricks. So if that was interesting to you, please join us in early 2026 when we have that coach training. All right. Oop, there we go. All right. So now is the time that I'm sure many of you have been anxiously awaiting, which is our oral presentation problem relief. So I'm going to switch to that. All right. Okay, so here is the 2025-2026 oral presentation problem. And for every single competition, just before I get into reading it, every single competition, you will be presenting on the exact same problem. So whether it's a local competition or the state competition, it will be about this scenario. You are welcome to change your presentation in between competitions if you feel like you got feedback or something like that that you want to implement, but it will always be the same scenario that you are responding to. So I'm going to go ahead and just read it. So non-point source pollution, it begins at home, is the special topic and what we based this year's oral presentation prompt on. The Clean Water Act of 1972 created a national framework to protect U.S. waterways by regulating pollution. While point sources like industrial discharge pipes are managed through regulations and permits, non-point source pollution comes from a wide area without an identifiable source, such as agricultural or residential runoff. Non-point source pollution's widespread nature makes it harder to track and control. For this reason, state and local programs were developed to help manage non-point source pollution, as mitigating non-point source pollution and improving water quality requires coordinated efforts to be impactful on a measurable scale. Managing non-point source pollution in Virginia is especially important due to the state's many watersheds, which ultimately drain into major systems such as the Chesapeake Bay, North Carolina Sounds, and Mississippi River. What happens on a single property, whether it is fertilizer usage, erosion, or stormwater runoff, can have far-reaching downstream, that's supposed to say impacts. I will change that. That's why the Commonwealth of Virginia supports a range of strategies and programs, such as the Virginia Agricultural Cost Share Program, VAX, and Virginia Conservation Assistance Program, VCAP, to help farmers and landowners reduce non-point source pollution. Your consulting group has been tasked with developing a site plan for the Rippleton family's 60.77-acre property, focusing on non-point source pollution management. The parcel is located within an upscale neighborhood within the Chesapeake Bay watershed that offers numerous amenities such as walking trails, a pool, a golf course, elementary school, and several creeks and streams. But the property itself is not included in the surrounding development and is zoned for agriculture. When they purchased the property, it was forested with a mix of hardwoods and pines. They harvested about 20 acres of timber with intentions of both residential and agricultural use. The family also enjoys hunting and gardening on their land. The Rippletons are eager to adopt sustainable management practices that protect water quality, support agricultural productivity, and foster positive relationships with their community. And for some information about the property, you've got, it's partially cleared land with forested buffers along a vegetated stream that drains into a mill pond. The pond spillway flows into a major river that drains to the Chesapeake Bay. The site is not located within FEMA 100-year floodplain, but includes steep slopes and areas of poor or undesirable vegetative cover, creating erosion and potential invasive species concerns throughout the entire site. For the agriculture side of it, they intend to relocate their equine business to their property by building several small barns and a riding/training area. They will have up to 12 horses once the property is fully developed, and they have attempted to plant fescue where they intend to have pastures, but the vegetative cover consisted mainly of undesirable species for pasture establishment and condition. The key concerns include stream protection, manure management, and pasture establishment/condition. Residentially, the home was built in 2022 and has a compacted gravel driveway. Key concerns here include stormwater runoff from impervious surfaces like the driveway or roof, soil erosion, and poor vegetative cover in the yard. And the surrounding neighborhood is an upscale residential community with HOA guidelines that emphasize maintaining neighborhood aesthetics. There's a golf course that meanders through the community upstream of the property. Several small creeks and drainage channels run throughout the community, all within the same watershed as the Rippleton property. So your task is to create a development plan for the Rippleton, incorporating their existing residents, natural areas, and pastures, and future equine facilities. The following must be addressed in the plan. You have to recommend at least one best management practice, or BMP, to address key agricultural resource concerns. Then you have to recommend at least one BMP to address key residential resource concerns. You have to provide basic cost estimates for each of the recommended BMPs and identify potential incentive programs or funding sources. Then you have to expand your recommendations to the broader community by considering which BMPs could be adapted for the neighborhood or countywide adoption. You have to address anticipated challenges, including environmental, social, regulatory, and economic when implementing your management plan. And then finally, you have to have a strong conclusion that describes the impact of the recommended BMPs on water quality and watershed health versus the cost of doing nothing. These details in this prompt have been changed for anonymity, including the family name, but this is a real property, which I'll show you in a bit. We have real pictures, we have drone footage taken from above. It is a very real property, and the owners are interested in what you all have to say. But having said that, please do not attempt to locate the real property, contact the homeowners, or visit this community. Any information that you could possibly need for a successful presentation has been given to you either in this document or in the resources that we will go over in a bit. So while you should be aware that this is a real property and how exciting that is and impactful, please know that we anonymized it because the family wanted us to anonymize it. So, you know, just putting that little description or piece out there. And then just so you're aware, the only visual aids that are allowed is a Microsoft PowerPoint. So you can use any sort of presentation creation tools like a Google Slides, Canva, anything like that, but it has to be downloaded to a PowerPoint for competitions. So just keep that in mind. At the competition, the way that the oral presentation functions is that you have each of your 5 team members needing to participate in the presentation, and each of them have to participate equally. So you all need to speak. And then each team has 5 minutes to set up. You do 20 minutes of presentation time, and then 5 minutes to answer questions from the judges, who will be pulled from real resource professionals. So again, these are judges who are very interested in what you have to say, because these are the type of things that real professionals do on a daily basis. So the presentation itself is 30 minutes total, but keep in mind that it's 20 minutes for just the presentation component. There's also a rubric and a scoring sheet. So I'm going to go, here's the official rubric score sheet that judges are given. What we recommend is that you build your presentation according to this rubric, because again, this is what they actually use to score. So even if you have the best presentation in the world, if it doesn't meet one of these points, you know, you can't get full points. So definitely build it according to this. Also, something you will notice down here is that the final score is out of 200 points. We got a question as well that asked how the different subjects of Envirothon are weighted. All of the tests are weighted out of 100 points, and the oral presentation is out of 200 points. So it is worth double the amount of points as a single test. So you should definitely be putting your all into the oral presentation, because it really can make or break competition scores. We also have a judge's guidance sheet, which goes into some more detail about what different points mean. So for example, on this references and resources section, if you only have 1 to 2 cited sources, that would give you a 2, or if they were inappropriate sightings. But if you have at least 5 sources that were in-depth, support major points, differing views, that would give you a 10. When I say sources, we don't ask for a specific citation method, so don't feel like you need to, you know, use specifically MLA or something like that. But again, just look at this guidance sheet to give you a better idea of what exactly is being scored. And then finally, we also provide the note-taking sheet that is provided. This one's going to be less helpful to you because it's mostly blank, but I would really recommend looking at these other 2 documents when forming your oral presentation. As I mentioned earlier with the scenario, you are only allowed to use a presentation. So that means that there are no physical items that you can hand out to judges, such as brochures or food or promotional items. So make sure you just have the presentation. So that is that for the presentation itself, but I'll show off the resources really quick. So when I post these slides, the resources are linked here, but they're also on our website. And this has a ton of maps and photos and videos that you can use however you want to your heart's content. I will also say, you do not need to use every single one of these resources to give a good presentation. They are just here because we wanted to give you all that you needed or could potentially need or might want or anything. So again, don't feel like you need to use every single thing that's in here, but they are there for you to use if you want them. So yes, that's the resources. Let's see. That is essentially it for the oral presentation. So actually, let me pull this back up. That's going to be it, but there's my contact information, and I will also stay online for anyone that has questions, comments, anything that they want to talk about Envirothon. But overall, we're really excited to have another great start to an Envirothon program year, and we're really excited to see what you all come up with this year's special topic oral presentation. So thank you all so much for joining. Again, I'll stay online for any questions you may have or comments or anything like that. But yeah, thank you all for joining. Thanks, everybody. Yes, the recording will be available. I will post it both on our website, on our YouTube, and it will be sent via email with the email that you registered with. So I'll make it available in a bunch of different ways. Thanks, everybody. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and stop recording. So if anyone was waiting to ask a question or say anything until afterwards, I will stop that. Let's see.